This is Al Jazeera breaking news just coming out. Sad breaking news out of Gaza, where Al Jazeera journalist al-Sharif has just been killed in what appears to be a targeted Israeli strike. All of this according to the director of the al-Shifa hospital. Anas was killed after a tent for journalists was hit outside the main gate of the hospital. The well-known Al Jazeera correspondent reported extensively from northern Gaza. The 28-year-old was a key source of news from Gaza City and the north for international audiences since Israel's war on the Strip began some 22 months ago. Al Jazeera media network had recently denounced the Israeli military for what it called a campaign of incitement against Anas al-Sharif. Al-Sharif was one of the journalists the Israeli military accused of being a member of Hamas's military wing. The UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories, Francesca Albanese, has earlier denounced serious threats against the Al Jazeera journalist by the Israeli army. And what's more is the Council for the Protection of Journalists had also been concerned about his safety. Hani Mahmoud is on the phone from Gaza City. Hani, what do we know?
This is perhaps the hardest thing I'm reporting about for the past 22 months. I'm not far from the al-Shifa hospital, just one block away, and I could hear the massive explosion that took place in the past half an hour or so near al-Shifa hospital. I could see it when it lit up the sky, and just within moments the news circulated. It was the journalist tent at the main gate of al-Shifa hospital. At this particular time of the night, it calms down. All the journalists gather in one area, try to either talk to each other, help each other to survive these conditions, when a drone strike hit the tent, killing Anas al-Sharif and his colleague Muhammad Tariq. Both are correspondents of Al Jazeera Arabic on the ground. They have been reporting on the atrocities of the Israeli military, the airstrikes, the enforced starvation and dehydration, all of these past months. It's important to highlight this attack just a week after an Israeli military official directly accused Anas and directly ran a campaign of incitement on Al Jazeera and correspondents on the ground because of their work, because of their relentless reporting on the starvation and the famine and the malnutrition, because they're bringing the truth to the screen for everyone. Just a week after that statement was made by a prominent Israeli military official, it got translated on the ground practically by targeting this tent and killing two of the most prominent journalists on the ground. Been doing reports on everything that happened from the opening weeks of this genocide till today. The last report that was done today on the ongoing enforced starvation and dehydration and the famine that is spreading everywhere across the Gaza Strip. Anas and Muhammad and many other people who were in the tent, we were literally looking at footage that were circulating of bodies scattered in the area, of people who took care of logistics, of coordinators on the ground, drivers who were at the site when the attack happened.
Hani, was this a deliberate targeting, given what we know on the ground? He himself, Anas al-Sharif, said that he was being targeted by an Israeli smear campaign, and indeed the IDF's Arabic spokesman, Avichai Adres, stepped up his online attacks in recent days. In fact, the Council for the Protection of Journalists said that they believed that the journalist himself thought that this was all a precursor to his assassination.
It was deliberate, it was intentional, it was directed to suppress voices that raise criticism of what's going on, of criticism of the actions on the ground, of the genocidal acts on the ground. This is one of Israel's most oppressive tools to suppress all these voices of criticism on the ground. Because the one thing that hurt the most, the one thing that turned the world's attention onto the crimes of the Israeli military, of the malnutrition, of the starvation, of the indiscriminate bombardment of the Strip, was done on the ground because of Al Jazeera network on the ground, through its relentless reporting. It brought the attention of the whole entire world to these ongoing crimes. The Israeli military has been running this smear campaign against Anas and his colleagues, and incitement campaign for the past week. We've seen it. We were concerned about it. We thought it was a red flag because we know once the Israeli military start to talk about this, they were about to do something, and they never failed to do it, and they did it, and it killed journalists. And this is not the first time we've seen journalists being the main target of the Israeli military. It's like they're being punished for the work they are doing, for the honest work that they are doing, for just giving the truth as it is, as raw as it is, bringing it to the screen. That's something that the Israeli military, its political leadership, do not like, because it changes a lot of the narrative. It changes of what's going on, how you perceive things on the ground. So it's coupled with not just the smear campaign and the incitement campaign against Al Jazeera and its correspondents on the ground, but it's also directed to anyone who dares to raise their voice and to criticize all the acts on the ground, the racist acts and the genocidal acts on the ground.
Hani, it's the IDF saying in recent weeks that what al-Sharif was really reporting on was intellectual propaganda. They also said that he was part of a false Hamas campaign on starvation as well. And let's not forget that this man, this reporter, this late reporter, saw his own father being killed in December 2023 as well in an Israeli airstrike on his home in Jabalia.
This is the easiest way to justify the killing of everyone across the Gaza Strip. The accusations are ready, the labels are ready. In order to justify something as horrendous as targeting journalists, the labels are ready to describe them as militants, to describe them as members of one group or the other. It's all done in order to justify the ongoing deliberate killing of everyone, including journalists. So this is not something new to us. We've seen it over the past 22 months. Close to 200 journalists have been killed. And it's not a surprise. Every time a journalist is attacked or killed, or their family is attacked or killed, we've seen the same exact narrative that goes on with the same mechanism of justifying what have, because they are associated or they're linked to some sort of the group or the other, without offering any substantial evidence whatsoever. The fact that every time the Israeli military fails to provide any substantial evidence, apart from just going onto a screen and record a statement and throwing accusations without any substantial evidence, is just very telling into how this army is operating, and let alone what it's doing with everyone else, including civilians and international organization members or medical staff. The one thing that we're certain about, that there's no limit to the ongoing killing. There's no limit to the target banks of the Israeli military. When you look at the categories of victims, when you see little children are torn apart, and you see adults also being torn apart, I mean, finding a justification just so minimal in the face of this brutality.
Hani, thank you so much, Hani Mahmoud.